Red Scare is a vibe. Probably the exact vibe a segment of the world needs now more than ever. It has a crystal clear through line that isn't very clear at all. I'm not necessarily talking about the popular podcast Red Scare, but rather the online community r/RedScarePod on Reddit. Not to be confused with spin-off communities like r/RedScare Bible Study or r/RedScare Writers, r/RedScarePod Music, or the beloved Girls and Gays offshoot. Maybe you missed that think piece or that one Vanity Fair expose and aren't familiar with Red Scare. It's probably been exposed to you indirectly, but what you don't know is that sweater is not just blue. The podcast has had brushes with the mainstream. Mike White had actress Sydney Sweeney and Brittany O'Grady listen to episodes for their characters' vocal inflections on White Lotus Season 1, and co-host Dasha acted in Succession Season 4. For the uninitiated, Bohemian layabouts Dasha Nekrasova and Anna Dasha first started producing from New York in March of 2018. The Cut describes their podcast as, quote, covering current topics in American culture and politics and a critique of neolibertarianism and feminism in a manner both comedic and serious in tone. Influences include Mark Fisher, Slavoj Žižek, Kamil Pagila, Michael Houellebecq, and Christopher Lasch. Politically, it's definitely not right, and it's definitely not left. In the same way Andrew Sullivan coined the term South Park Republican, so did Amber A. Lee Frost by using the term dirtbag left, which is a popular classification which Dasha and Anna's podcast falls under along with some other key figures on the East Coast. This dirtbag left ethos thrives on irrelevance and a refusal to conform to the norms of traditional political discourse. It's an ideology that merges a critique of neolibertarianism with a disdain for the performative aspects of contemporary leftism, often using humor and shock to cut through the noise. The movement is less about policy and more about cultural attitude, embracing the complexities and contradictions of being politically engaged in an era where irony and sincerity are often indistinguishable. Whatever it is for someone who might feel politically homeless, the subreddit dedicated to the podcast is a very welcoming place to be. The discussion that goes on there feels somewhat unpolitical, but a political emotion runs through everything that gets posted, even if it's just a black and white photo of Nick Cave on a train from the late 90s or a video of Prada, spring 1996. But to be clear, when looking at the metric of iTunes reviews, Red Scare has just 3,000 reviews, while liberal podcast Pod Save America has 75,000. However, on Reddit, as of writing this, there are currently 2,400 people on r/RedScarePod posting memes about Zoomers, and only 24 on the Pod Save America subreddit. The Reddit community that built up around the podcast feels like a small and intimate club that brings in people of all ages and cultures from across the world. However, we all seem connected through a common but unclear reason for being here. It's like walking into a Williamsburg or Echo Park bar in the very early 2000s. Neutral Milk Hotel and Slayer are playing. The genius of Mulholland Drive is being discussed, as well as the meaning of the final line in Eyes Wide Shut. There's a lot of fashion talk, especially of famous runways from the 1990s. Political discussion is encouraged, but doesn't deteriorate into the usual left versus right debates you see on cable news or social media. The Red Scare fans aren't active in politics so much as they're observing from the sidelines and perhaps laughing at the ridiculousness of all of it as we enjoy the culture around us. All opinions are somewhat valued, except if you don't believe ADHD is real, which is one of the most common contentious debates as of late. But the disgust for the modern, mainstream left and corporate Democrats is what drives most of the political discussion. The disappointment with the left ends up pulling the discussion in a rightward direction. But in actuality, everyone is probably closer to center-left. Food and diet philosophies closely resemble ancient Greece, if I'm being charitable, a healthy mind and a healthy body, and maybe resemble anorexic strategies you could find on LiveJournal in the late 2000s, if I'm not. Selfies of the hosts and their friends are often scrutinized anytime someone grabs a screenshot off social media. Look at Dasha's lotions on the table behind her. The top 3 posts since the subreddit started in 2018 include a fan art drawing of an overweight Dasha, a post making fun of a work-from-home stock image, and an altered Trump tweet roasting polyamorous relationships. That won't really give you a great feel of the day-to-day discussion, which is all over the place. It is a must-read for anyone struggling to exist or understand the current world we live in. It's like a refuge for the geriatric millennial who woke up and realized that their plaid and cons uniform of yesteryear is dated. and the last Tipster Runoff post was from nearly 10 years ago. People reading it seem to span from teenagers to older Gen Xers, but while it's a popular joke that the subreddit consists of the much maligned and discussed Zoomers, and that we are actually chatting with high schoolers, it feels like we're really all speaking the same language, with a similar sensibility, where age doesn't matter. I could be seeing it from some rose-colored glasses, but it's one of the most civil online communities I've been a part of. Someone once posted that they needed fashion advice to attend their rich boyfriend's family wedding, and she was greeted with encouraging words and helpful advice that led her settling on a gorgeous dress that she posted a photo of. While the podcast is ultimately what brought everybody into this online community, I have a feeling that it no longer drives it. In the early 90s, someone could attend a Grateful Dead concert with limited knowledge of the band's music, but go there instead for the scene that had built up around the band. The same thing's happening with the Red Scare online community. The best online communities are ones that deviate far from the original focus, and instead become strands of conversation and an extension of everyday life. I'm not a Red Scare podcast expert. I haven't even listened to the popular episode The Zoo, but I have seen Pine Barrens, and I have the vinyl for Lana's Ultraviolence, and of course watched with my mouth open as Megan Draper danced for Dawn. That's probably all about you need to feel connected to the discussions that happen on the daily basis on the sub. Like Jerry Garcia setting the tone for the community of the Deadheads, Dasha and Anna's unique personalities translated into this magical discussion forum that feels of a different time. On the weekly, someone mentions this, that the subreddit reminds them of the 90s pre-social media internet. This midnight in Paris internet golden era of nostalgia tends to stretch into the mid-2000s and can get squashed pretty quickly when you pull up an actual newsgroup post from the 90s that were just as vitriolic as today. And maybe that's why you can't help but get a warm, fuzzy feeling while browsing it. The unique part is that it seems like the younger members are getting that same feeling, even though they were too young to experience it firsthand. The other inside joke on the subreddit is that everybody is obsessed with how gorgeous Dasha is. Hashtag, how does she do it? But the duo of Dasha and Anna make it impossible not to fall in love with the both of them. They're incredibly intelligent, quote literary and political philosophy with ease, and are both physically beautiful, and have impeccable taste in culture and fashion. Anybody with any sense would never want to meet them in person, as you can only imagine what a disappointment you would be to them. However, if we're being honest, we all likely share the same fantasy of meeting IRL and holding out hope that the cool kids might want to be friends with you. So, what was the purpose of this YouTube book report essay that would absolutely get skewered on the Reddit if anyone ever watched it? Probably to spread the word that one of the best conversations in this world is taking place on a fan site for a niche podcast by two millennials from New York. Maybe the subreddit becoming more and more popular would be a bad thing, but it would be selfish not to share the love. It's honestly that great. Like most online communities that are generally interesting, it might not be long for this world. Reddit purges communities at will and randomly, so you never know when you'll see that dreaded court mallet that means it's been 86th. I hope that doesn't happen though. I start my day on it, and it gives me a pretty good feeling about the world and some like-minded folks who live in it that I'll probably never meet. For the people who have met in person, you can browse through some of the encounters, and they're always entertaining. Or disturbing. People will often say the sub is dead when front page style posts include discussions about Marvel or video games, but like clockwork, a super unique post goes up and everyone declares the sub is so back. So you know what? Give it a read. Sort by popular and see if it speaks to you the same way it does to me. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to Dasha and Anna for igniting the spark for this community. Know that it holds immense love and appreciation for you both.